Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my Big Ten football predictions for the 2023 college football season. Before I continue a few things, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. We're trying to grow the channel. Two, I know I came out with some videos with some team prediction videos. I'm going to delete those and just go with the conference prediction videos this year. I just don't have the time or energy really to pit and work for 25 videos. So I do have the time and energy to do conference prediction videos. And we're 2 weeks away from college football season. So I'm just going to delete those videos. Um, Now, granted, I will say this. None of my predictions have changed. So anything I said in those videos are fact. So um, you look at the Big Ten. And we're going to kick off with the Big Ten because that's the conference my team is in, the Maryland Terps. Big Ten this year, it's Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. That's kind of the story of it this year. Who's going to come out of the Big Ten East, out of those three teams in the last year of divisions before they bring in UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington? Um, it's going to be one of those three teams everybody's saying. We'll see if I agree with that. We'll see who I have coming out of the Big Ten East. We'll see how I have the Big Ten shaping up this year. I think it's going to be a pretty good year for the Big Ten. Even some of the teams that aren't going to be making bowl games, I think, are going to be at least somewhat competitive. So let's get into it. We'll kick it off with the East. In first place, I have Michigan in the East. I have them going 11-1, 8-1 in the conference. And I'm going to tell you all my predictions. If you watched the Michigan video, you already know what I think about Michigan. I think they are the best team in college football. I have them number one in my AP, not my AP top 25, and my college football top 25. Go ahead and watch that video if you haven't already. But um, I'm very high on Michigan this year. Out of the top eight teams that finished in the AP top 25 last year, they're the only one that brings back their starting quarterback. Um, I mean, this year for Michigan, it's championship or bust. The one game I do have Michigan losing is not to Penn State or Ohio State, it is to Minnesota on the road. I just have a feeling about it. PJ Fleck, he's due for a signature win. Um, Minnesota is the one team that I think that's the one team not named Penn State or Ohio State that I think can hold their own on the line of scrimmage against Michigan. Um, so I just have a feeling about that game, but I have Michigan going 11-1, 8-1 in the Big Ten. I'm pretty high on them. Next, in second place, I have Ohio State going 10-2, 8-1 in the Big Ten. The one loss for Ohio State in the Big Ten is to Michigan. I do have Ohio State losing to Notre Dame in the Out Conference. Um, One thing about Ohio State for the past 2 years, really, I question their toughness. I really do. They've been kind of soft the past few years, and if my numbers project correctly, I think Notre Dame is a more physical team. I think they'll beat Ohio State. It's in South Bend. Michigan the past 2 years has basically owned Ohio State. I think that continues. But you look at Ohio State; it's the best wide receiving crew. It's the best wide receiving corp in the country. Um, they're going to run through They're going to run through most of their opponents with that alone. It really just comes down to can they hold their own and be physical. That's really what it comes down to for Ohio State. Colin McCord will be fine. I mean, he'll be fine. I mean, you see Ryan Day bringing new quarterbacks. They're fine for the most part. So Kyle McCord, he'll be fine. Uh, but I have Ohio State going 10-2, 8-1 in the Big Ten. In third place, I have Penn State going 10-2, 7-2 in the Big Ten. I have Penn State losing. There are two games that I have them losing is to Michigan and Ohio State. I think it's going to be the same as last year for Penn State. They'll run through everybody on their schedule. They'll come up a bit short against Ohio State and Michigan. Um, Ohio State, they always seem to play Ohio State tough. So you could sit there and say maybe, but it is in Columbus. And then Michigan, I'm just very high on Michigan. I know it's in Happy Valley, but I would still make Michigan, honestly, probably like a 6 to 8 point favorite in that game, despite it being in Happy Valley. So overall, I think it's going to be very similar to last year. They do get Iowa, which I'm high on. I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. They get the Big Ten East opponents. The road game on the road at Illinois is going to be interesting. Illinois, I think, is going to be a little bit better than what some people think, but and they get West Virginia in the non-conference to open up the season. But overall, um, Penn State's a team that I think could win a national championship this year. Yes, I said last year they're more of a 2023 team, and and also, to be honest with Penn State, it really comes down to quarterback play for them with Drew Allo. We'll see what he does, but yeah, I mean Penn State. I mean they could win a championship. I at the end of the day. I just think the two teams ahead of them are better than them. That's what it comes down to. But I do think Penn State's a pretty good team. Third place, 10-2, 7-2 in the Big Ten. So that's how I have the first three teams line up in the East here. Fourth place, I have the Maryland Terps. Yeah, I am a Maryland Terps fan, but I actually do think, without being biased, they're better than the three teams that are behind them in the East. I have Maryland going 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten. I think they go through. They start their season with a non-conference schedule, all three games at home. I think they'll run through that pretty easily. I mean, maybe Virginia, that game's a bit close, but I think they'll run through that. Um, I think they beat the three teams in the Big Ten East that are below them. I think out of the West, they'll go ahead and beat Northwestern, and then they'll split the games between Illinois and Nebraska. You look at Maryland, line play isn't going to be that good this year for Maryland, in my opinion. So I don't think they're really going to have a shot against the three teams ahead of them. A team like Illinois can easily beat them, in my opinion, as well. Nebraska, maybe it is on the road, but overall, as I said, I think they're going to split the games between Nebraska and Illinois. Uh, Tola Tagovailoa comes back, so that's good. The quarterback comes back. Defensively, they're going to be better defensively than what they were last year. I thought they made strides. The Terps did defensively throughout the year. So keep an eye on that. But overall, you look at Maryland. I mean, Mike Locksley has been recruiting well. You gotta think the talent is at least good enough to compete in the Big Ten. So, and I think Maryland with the easy non-conference schedule, I think they'll win the three teams below them in the East at a minimum, and they'll get the win against Northwestern. You gotta think at least 7-5 for Maryland. I say so, but I think they're gonna split the two between Illinois and Nebraska. So 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten. Fifth place in the Big Ten. I always make some bold predictions every year, and one of my bold predictions this year is that Rutgers makes a bowl game. And the reason why is Greg Schiano. Say what you want about him. I know he can coach. I know he can. I know it's been kind of a not as good situation as it was the first go around Rutgers. Um, but Rutgers has actually been recruiting pretty good for their standards in the Big Ten. Like I think they almost cracked the top 30 twice, if I'm not mistaken. So you gotta think some of those recruits are gonna hit. Also, I'm not high at all on the two teams under Rutgers. I think they beat both of those teams Rutgers does in the Big Ten, and they get Northwestern as well at home in week one on a Sunday, which is going to be interesting. Sunday at noon, and that is kind of the swing game for Rutgers. I mean, that's a game you gotta win if you're Rutgers. Um, I think they win that game, so I think they go 3-6 in the Big Ten. Their non-conference schedule consists of Temple, Virginia Tech, and Ragnar all at home. All I need them to do is beat Virginia Tech at home. And I think they're very capable of doing that. They should beat Temple and Ragnar without problem. I think Rutgers, that gets them to 6 wins. So I'm not so much as high on Rutgers. I just think they had back-to-back decent recruiting classes for their standards, almost cracking the top 30. You gotta think some of those recruits are gonna hit, and I'm not high on the two teams below them at all. So I came up with, hey, Rutgers is looking at the Big Ten schedule. They're probably going 3-6. Virginia Tech's down. Can they beat Virginia Tech at home? I think they can. They should beat Temple and Ragnar at home. That's 6-6. That's kind of how I look at it. And one of my bold predictions this year is that Rutgers makes a bowl game. I have them going 6-6, 3-6 in the Big Ten. So, and also they bring back 8 on the defensive side. I think that's going to be a strong point for them as well. Sixth place in the Big Ten East is going to be Michigan State. I am not high on Michigan State at all. Michigan State, Payne Thorne, he left for Auburn. Um, Jaden Reed, he left as well. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you look at Michigan State, Mel Tucker, he lives and dies by the transfer portal. Um, you can say 2021 all you want. They hit on a running back called Kenneth Walker, who was a rookie running back with 1,000 yards in the NFL. That's probably going to be Mel Tucker's biggest hit in the transfer portal. He really needs to lock down recruiting Mel Tucker. I'm not high on the situation at all. They'll go 4-8, 2-7 in the Big Ten. I think they'll go ahead and beat Indiana in the East, and then they get Nebraska at home. I pencil that in as a win for them as well. They'll beat Central Michigan and Richmond at home in the non-conference. But I'm telling you right now, Washington and Ohio State, I think, have a really good shot at hanging 60 on Michigan State. I really think they do. Um, the secondary has been an issue since Mel Tucker has arrived. It has not fixed itself. So I'm not high on Michigan State at all. I have them going 4-8, 2-7 in the Big Ten. I think, and listen, it's going to be tough for Michigan State because once the 4 teams in the West come into the Big Ten, I mean, I'm just going to be honest with saying this. Um, where's Michigan State standing? Because Maryland's going to be better than them. Um, all 4 teams in the Big Ten West are going to be better than them. The 3 heavyweights in the East are going to be better than them. There's going to be teams in the West better than Michigan State. I mean, Michigan State is definitely going to be in the bottom half of the league, so it's going to be tough for Michigan State. It really is. And then last place in the Big Ten in the Big Ten East is Indiana. I have them going 2-10, 0-9 in the Big Ten. I tried looking for a win for Indiana, I just couldn't get there. I think to go ahead and beat Indiana State and Akron at home in the non-conference, they get Louisville at a neutral site game in Indianapolis. They will lose that game. Um, they open up the year at home against Ohio State. That I mean, I know it's at home, but I mean that's gonna be ugly. Um, if you're looking for a Big Ten win somewhere, I look at the Rutgers and Michigan State games at home. Those are the 2 I will probably look at if I'm Indiana. But as I said last year, I think Tom Allen. I thought he was a dead man walking last year. He won a game or 2 late. I believe they won that. Yeah, they won the game against Michigan State late in the season. That kind of saved his job. He barely met expectations there at Indiana. This year, I mean, you know it's bad when on the Big Ten channel when they do the bus tour that they're not. They say, "Well, we're not going to really show much film of Indiana." Just come out and say that it is bad in Bloomington. I think Tom Allen gets canned at some point during the season or at the end of the season in the Big Ten West. So those are the Big Ten East standings. Who will be playing Michigan in the Big Ten championship game? First place in the Big Ten West, I got Iowa. I am high on Iowa this year. I think Iowa is a team that is a dark horse to really cause havoc. Cade McNamara, the quarterback they bring in from the Michigan transfer, excellent transfer right there. Excellent job by Iowa. I know kind of the crazy stat this year is can Iowa score more than I think it's 25 points a game or something like that. I think they will. K McNamara is a good enough quarterback that I think he can at least get you a few touchdowns a game, take care of the ball. I have Iowa going 10-2, 7-2 in the Big Ten. They lose the game on the road against Penn State in the whiteout, and I have them losing on the road against Wisconsin. But I think they come in first place in the Big Ten West. Uh, and I think they face Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. I'm very high on Iowa this year. They bring back 9 on the offensive side, and then they bring in K. McNamara as the quarterback. You know that defense is going to be good. 7 on the defensive side coming back. I really trust Iowa a lot this year. I think they are the best team in the Big Ten West. Second place, I got Minnesota going 9-3, 7-2 in the Big Ten. You look at Minnesota. People are saying, hey, this might be a bit of a transition year for the Gophers. Um, I disagree. I disagree completely. Um, Listen, PJ Fleck. Um, say what you want about him. He knows how to win games. I mean, take out the COVID year. 11-2, 9-4, 9-4. I mean, that is very impressive at Minnesota. That is really impressive. Um, they bring in the quarterback, which name I can't pronounce. Ethan Kaliakmanis, I believe is how you pronounce it. Um, they're very high on him. I have Minnesota going 9-3, 7-2 in the Big Ten. They lose the non-conference game on the road against North Carolina, and they go ahead and lose the games against Iowa and Ohio State in the Big Ten. But you look at, you look at Minnesota. I mean, say what I mean. They bring back 7 on the offensive side, 6 on the defensive side. You know, on the lines are going to be, and the lines of scrimmage are going to be fine. Um, I think Minnesota is a type of team that could win the Big Ten West as well. Keep an eye on them. Third place, I have Wisconsin going 8-4, 6-3 in the Big Ten. Um, do I think that Wisconsin hit a home run with the Luke Fickell hire? Yes. Do I think there might be a little bit of growing pains in year one? Yes. And the reason why is they're changing the whole offensive philosophy and defensive philosophy there at Wisconsin. They bring back 10 on the offensive side, 8 on the defensive side. So they bring back a bunch of starters. I have them going 6-3 in the Big Ten, 8-4 overall. I do have them losing that game on the road against Washington State. I think people are kind of sleeping on Washington State. Um, so I went ahead and gave Washington State the win there. I think Wisconsin will be favored, but I'm calling for the upset. The games they will lose in the Big Ten will be Ohio State, Minnesota, and Illinois, as why I have them losing. You go ahead. You do get a big win against Iowa, in my opinion, this year if you're Wisconsin. But at the same time, as I said, I just think it's going to be some growing pains there. I do think this hire will work out at the end, but at the end of the day, when you're changing philosophies, there's going to be growing pains. But even then, 8-4 with change of philosophies is pretty good. So, especially after last season. So 8-4, 6-3 overall for Wisconsin. Fourth place, I have Illinois going 7-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten. I think people are saying they're like, oh, Illinois, they lose a lot. They're going to degress some. They went 8-5 last year. They're going to degress some. I think they're going to be just fine, Illinois. You look at Illinois, Brett Bierma. I do believe in him. Line of scrimmage play is going to be fine. I have them going 7-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten. I do think they lose that out conference game against Kansas on the road, and this is a type of game I think Illinois. If I was the betting person or making the odds, I would probably say Illinois. I'll probably put Illinois as a 2 to 3 point favorite in this one, but it's on the road, so I decided to give that one to Kansas, and Kansas has been better since last year, and I think that will continue. And then in the Big Ten, 5-4. You lose the games against Iowa, Minnesota, Maryland, and who else? And Penn State. You lose those 4 games in the Big Ten. So, do they maybe degress a little bit? Yes, but is it going to be really noticeable? No. And they're in the Big Ten West, which is the easier divisions, which I think helps them a lot. So, Illinois 7-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten. Next team, fifth place in the Big Ten West, is going to be Nebraska. Nebraska is a team, in my opinion, that I think could definitely be better than the record I have them down as. I have Nebraska going 5-7, 3-6 in the Big Ten. I definitely think they could be better than that. But at the same time, you look at Nebraska, they do bring back 15 starters. Matt Rule, I think, is a great hire, but you got to look at Matt Rule's history at Temple and Baylor. First years, 1-11. Now, granted, it will not be that bad at Nebraska, trust me, when I'm saying that. But would surprise you if they go 4-8. Would surprise you if they even go maybe 3-9. I don't think they go 3-9, but it would not surprise me if they go 4-8. I have them going 5-7. That's where I landed at 3-6 in the Big Ten. I do think they will lose that Al conference game on the road against Colorado. I think Deion Sanders is going to get a big win somewhere, and I'm going to say this is the big win for Colorado this year. Um, Nebraska should be an 8 to 10 point favorite in that game if I had put the odds on it. But at the same time, I think Deion's getting a big win somewhere, and I picked this game as the big win. 3-6 in the Big Ten. The three Big Ten wins that they will get is Northwestern, Purdue, and Maryland, in my opinion. They'll win those three games. So they do kind of get a big win against Maryland in the Big Ten, since you see that I have Maryland winning 8 games. But overall, Nebraska is going to be fine. I think they could definitely, maybe not so much compete for Big Ten championships, but they could definitely compete for playoff spots when the playoffs expand starting in 2024. So Nebraska will be fine long term. But this year, 5-7, 3-6 in the Big Ten. Sixth place in the Big Ten West, I have Purdue. Um, I like the Ryan Walters hire long term. I do not like this hire short term. They're changing the whole philosophy there. Jeff Brom, he left for Louisville. He was the quarterback of Louisville. So don't get upset at that, Purdue fans. But he took all his people with him basically to Louisville. The bright spot for Purdue, I will say this: I have Purdue going 3-9, 2-7 in the Big Ten. I do think Purdue wins the final two games of the season on the road against Northwestern and at home against Indiana. So, yeah, maybe like, oh, you're what, 1-9 going into that game on the road against Northwestern. I do think that there is a bright spot there. You get some momentum going into 2024. There with those two Big Ten wins, granted against horrible opponents, but at the same time, um, you'll go ahead get some wins there in the Big Ten. I also think Purdue will be a bit more competitive than the record says that I have them at in the Big Ten. Like for instance, I could definitely see them being in some of these games. Um, for instance, the Illinois game, the Minnesota game on the road against Nebraska, they'll be in those games, Purdue. Um, but I mean, it's basically a whole new philosophy for Purdue. Also in the non-conference schedule, I have them going 1-2. A bit of a tricky non-conference schedule. Fresno State, at Virginia Tech, and Syracuse. The one non-conference win I have for Purdue is Syracuse. I'm going to make a prediction saying Fresno State goes into West Lafayette and wins that game. I just have a feeling about it. I think Purdue should be probably like a 4-point favorite in that game. But I think Fresno State gets the job done. And then at Virginia Tech, tough place to play. Virginia Tech fans will be pumped up since it's early in the season, despite not having that good of a football team. So I'll go ahead and say that Purdue loses that game. But I like the higher long term for Purdue with Ryan Walters. I do not like his short term. And then last place in the Big Ten West is Northwestern. It's a very bad situation there right now. They let go of Pat Fitzgerald because of the whole scandal. I'm not going to get into it, but I think Northwestern, they go 2-10, 0-9 in the Big Ten. They'll go ahead. They'll beat Howard in the non-conference, and I'm going to come out and say I think they find a way to beat UTEP. Maybe they play ball control, ball or something. I don't know. They'll find a way to beat UTEP at home, but it's going to be an ugly season for Northwestern. I don't think they're going to be really that competitive in a lot of their games, if you want my honest opinion. But we'll see. You never know. I mean, you never know. Northwestern's kind of one of those programs. They kind of come out of nowhere, but I don't think this year is going to be the year for that. So, those are the standings for the Big Ten this year, in my opinion. I have 9 teams out of the 14 making a bowl game. Um, I have Michigan and Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. I think overall there is 4 contenders for the playoffs in this conference with Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, and then Iowa State is a contender as well, in my opinion. My bowl prediction for the Big Ten this year is that Rutgers makes a bowl game. That's kind of my bowl prediction this year for the Big Ten. So that's kind of the Big Ten standings. Um, let's look at the Big Ten championship game. I have Michigan versus Iowa, and I'll come out and say right now, I do have Michigan winning the Big Ten championship game. But I think this game's going to be a four-quarter game. I was going to give Michigan a run for their money. Trust me when saying that. They play good defense. I mean, this could be remember this past season, Michigan versus TCU, how fluke of a game that was. Yeah, that Michigan could play. Michigan does not have to have. Man, let me reword that. Michigan doesn't have to throw two pick sixes and then go on and then have like a 27 nothing swing basically. Uh, which TCU had. TCU had a 27 nothing swing basically in that game against Michigan. That was such a fluke game, that TCU Michigan game. That doesn't have to happen for Iowa to be Michigan. Now, granted, Iowa's probably going to have to steal one or two possessions, but they're more than capable of doing that. But I think Michigan wins this game. If I had to put a score on it, I'll probably say something like Michigan 28-17. Um, but I think this could be a very hard for a game, four-quarter game. I know some of the teams in the Big Ten West, it hasn't really been that competitive in the past few years. But I think that changes for this final installment of divisions in the Big Ten championship game. So that's my Big Ten football predictions. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. I always like hearing from y'all. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate if you do that. McD the Beast signing off.